do you want to make something really good or not? And if you want to make something really good, your number one priority has to be the experience of the player, right? The main reason for you making this thing has to be to make an interesting or fun or mind expanding or whatever kind of experience for the player. That has to be the number one item on the list of all the things you consider anytime you're making a decision, right? And then how does that play out into other parts of games? Like, if I'm trying to give you a good experience, why would I make you wait longer to start the game so that you watch an advertisement for my studio, which it's not even a real, it's like a logo is like brainwashing, right? Because I'm not telling you why my studio is good. I'm forcing you to get the impression in your brain of the name and the image. And that's actually the opposite. That's a parasitic relationship where you're using the player's brain like as a resource that you're trying to extract something from. And I try not to do that to the greatest extent possible, which is why we don't have this kind of branding, right? And it's another reason, but we don't really have it anywhere. So like if you run the witness, you can hit escape to pop the menu up. We don't have a company logo there either. It's just the menu that lets you do the things, right?
Yeah.
If you look in the credits, well, okay, there's no credits screen in the witness. The credits is a thing that you only get to by working very hard to get to the end of the game. And in there, you maybe will hear the name of the company, right? So it's really buried. It's really buried.
So it ties into my next question, which was, how do you view your task as the game designer? Is there something more than like creating the best experience possible for the player?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very vague and general statement, right? And so when you start a new game, that new game is about something, like there's some core idea to it, hopefully. Maybe it's just a fun game mechanic. Like I'm going to make a tactics game where the combat's interesting, and like maybe I like XCOM, but I want to make it different. Like that's a very game mechanical reason, but that's still good enough. So then you say like, okay, making a good experience is about making sure these mechanics really work and not getting in the way of them. Making sure, like if I'm doing a tactics game and you want to make good decisions, I want to make sure the scene is readable so I can see everything that matters. And unless I'm making some statement and the game is more about the confusion of war, and then that's a different rubric on which to make decisions, right? But whichever one of those things you pick to start with then becomes your basis for making decisions going forward. And so sometimes it's game mechanical like that. Sometimes it is not. Sometimes it's more philosophical. So like in The Witness, there is a core idea to the game that I won't spoiler, although you could very easily spoil yourself searching the game on the internet now. But there's a core idea behind the game that is sort of prior to mechanics a little bit. It determined the mechanics, but it's more fundamental than that. And that drove all the decision making in the game. It affected the puzzles. It affected the art style. Like The Witness has very bold colors with not a lot of high frequency detail. And the reason is because of this core philosophy that's behind the game. But that reason was not in play in Braid, and it's also not in play in the new game. And so all these games look different from each other because they're doing different things, right? And so as long as you have a very concrete goal, then for any decision you have to make, you can say, does this help me achieve that goal, or does it make it harder? Or is it orthogonal? Very few things are completely orthogonal, but you could be like, is it mostly orthogonal? And then once you have that, that helps you make your decisions. And it doesn't only help you make the decisions in an intelligent way, but it helps you make a set of decisions that globally are coherent with the point of the game. It's like like a ferrous magnet, where the reason it has magnetism is because the little pieces of it are aligned, right? You want your game to be that way. You want the pieces to be aligned to create this magnetic field that's strong. You don't want them to all be misaligned and create nothing. And so that's one very important piece of how that is done, I think.